Here's something that should terrify every Raptors fan. Toronto just beat the worst defense in NBA history, and they still couldn't get to the rim consistently. The Brooklyn Nets are allowing 129.8 points per 100 possessions. That's not just bad, that's a gap so massive it's like comparing last year's worst defense to a top 10 unit. And somehow, the Raptors made them look competent for stretches. Tonight we're covering 3 massive stories from this Nets game that reveal where Toronto really stands. One player is shooting over 70% from deep and still can't get minutes. Scottie Barnes' drives have fallen off a cliff, and Emmanuel Quickley might be saving the season. This is the reality check Raptors Nation needs to hear. What's up, Raptors Nation? Welcome back to Quick Court, where we break down the real story behind every Raptors game. Not the sugar-coated highlights, but the truth that matters for Toronto's future. The Raptors beat Brooklyn 119-109 on Tuesday night, improving to 6-5 after that brutal 1-4 start. 5 wins in the last 6 games looks great on paper, right? But stick around until the end, because what we found in this game exposes a fundamental problem with Toronto's offense that could derail this entire season. We're talking about a weakness so glaring that even the league's worst defense exposed it. And for all you Lakers fans lurking in the comments saying Toronto can't compete, we just watched your team get embarrassed. The Raptors are building something real while you're clinging to nostalgia. Let's get into it. Alright, let's address the elephant in the arena. Toronto won this game 119-109, but if you actually watched the film, you'd see something disturbing. The Raptors couldn't penetrate Brooklyn's defense. And remember, this is a Nets team that entered the game, allowing 69.9% shooting from within 6 feet, dead last in the entire NBA. Teams have been feasting at the rim against Brooklyn all season. But Toronto? They were pulling up short, settling for mid-range jumpers, living and dying by the three-pointer. What does that tell you? It tells you the Raptors have a serious problem getting to the paint, and if they can't attack the worst rim defense in basketball, what happens when they face legitimate defensive teams? Let's break down the numbers. Toronto entered this season as a top half driving team in both drives per game and field goal percentage on those drives. Sounds great, right? Wrong. When you look deeper, the Raptors aren't getting deep enough on their drives. They're ending up in the mid-range instead of attacking the rim. Emmanuel Quickley opts for floaters. Brandon Ingram and Scottie Barnes settle for pull-up jumpers. Only RJ Barrett consistently gets all the way to the basket, which is why he's been such a crucial piece of this offense, despite his struggles in this particular game where he shot just 6 of 2-1. Here's the killer stat. Toronto ranks 24th in assist rate out of drives. Think about that for a second. They're driving the ball, but they're not creating advantages. They're not collapsing defenses. They're not generating those easy kickouts for open threes or creating layups for cutters. They're just dribbling into contested mid-range shots. And Scottie Barnes, his driving numbers are alarming. He's averaging just 5.2 drives per game this season. That's basically half of what he averaged in recent years. And he's shooting only 34.5% on those drives, a drop of more than 10 percentage points. The franchise cornerstone isn't reaching the paint with the ball in his hands. For a player we're building around, for someone averaging 19.5 points, 7.4 rebounds, and 4.9 assists while shooting 50% from the field overall, this is the one area where his production has genuinely declined. Now, Brandon Ingram deserves credit here. He's scoring exceptionally well on drives and hitting mid-range jumpers at a level the Raptors haven't seen since Kawhi Leonard or DeMar DeRozan. But, and this is important, he's not creating enough for teammates, and he's not shifting the defense enough. The paint penetration just isn't opening up the offense the way it needs to. Against Brooklyn, what rim attempts Toronto did create came in very specific ways. They scored in transition. Obviously, RJ Barrett's rip-through dribble has become automatic in the open court. And the Raptors created some paint touches off the pass. Scottie Barnes screening, slipping, catching, and finishing is always money in the bank. That beautiful second half sequence where Jakob Poeltl dunked off a Barnes feed, then Barnes threw a no-look pass to Quickley for a layup, then Jakob Poeltl lobbed to Barnes, who touch passed it back for another dunk. That's the basketball we need to see consistently. But in the half court, Toronto lived and died by the three. And yes, they shot well early. The bench unit especially was splashing triples. Jamal Shead remained steady from deep, which is huge for his career trajectory. Jacoby Walter finally got hot and hit a pair. Jameson Battle drove off a pump fake, kicked out, relocated to the opposite wing, and drained an open three. Even Colin Murray-Boyles hit one from the left wing. The bench won the math battle early, and that's a positive development. But here's the thing. Bombing away from over the top of a defense because you can't crack it is not sustainable offense. Modern NBA offense isn't just about making threes. It's about creating them through rim pressure. The three-point shooting is a symptom of good offense, not the cause. You need to threaten the paint to create those open looks consistently. And because the Nets are, well, 1-10 and terrible, Toronto's middling performance was enough to get the win. But what happens when they face Milwaukee again? Cleveland on Thursday? Teams with actual defensive structure, this poor driving is going to become a massive issue as the Raptors try to climb the Eastern Conference hierarchy. Do you think Toronto's lack of rim pressure is a scheme problem or a personnel problem? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear if you're seeing what I'm seeing on this film. Speaking of players who can shoot, let's talk about the elephant in the rotation. Jameson Battle deserves more minutes, and I genuinely don't understand why Coach Darko Rajakovic isn't playing him more. Here are the facts, and they're absolutely wild. Battle is shooting over 70% from three-point range this season. Not a typo, 70%. Through 9 games and 68 minutes, he's hit 73.3% of his triples. Last season, he shot 40%, which was excellent. This year, he's in a completely different stratosphere. Remember that game against Cleveland where he went 7 for 7 from the field, 6 for 6 from 3, and scored 20 points in 15 minutes? That performance helped steal a win when Toronto was on the verge of dropping 5 straight. He's won his 68 minutes this season by 59 points. That's an absurd plus-minus. Only Grady Dick has a better plus-minus on the team at plus 7.4. Defensively, Battle has been serviceable. He hasn't been a painful breakdown point. He's held his own. His feet are actually really good. So why is he stuck at 68 minutes through 11 games? Here's where it gets complicated, and we need to be real about how NBA politics work. Grady Dick is a lottery pickup for extension this year, and he still has boatloads of potential at 21 years old. Jacoby Walter had a promising defensive start and is only 21. Ochai Agbaji is heading into free agency this upcoming season. There's a mix of development considerations and contractual politics happening here. Teams try to play nice with agents. They offer guys runways to play themselves into money, especially when their next year isn't guaranteed. I don't even necessarily mind that players deserve their opportunity. But at what point does the hot hand trump organizational politics? Battle's contract is team-friendly and available next season. He's a consistent, unflappable player. His route to the NBA has shown a repeated ability to outplay guys who were considered better than him, guys who had more organizational votes of confidence. He just shows up, hits triples, does his job. The coming into this season question was, who ascends to the #1 off-ball bench guard spot between Dick, Agbaji, Walter, and maybe even Battle? That question still hangs in the balance. And with Brandon Ingram's arrival usurping most of the shots that used to go to these low-volume bench guards, they've gone from roughly 34 shots per game combined last season to just 12 this year. The role is now primarily about efficiency and spacing rather than creation. If you ask me, Battle is winning that battle right now. Pun absolutely intended. He made some headway in his longer stretch against Brooklyn, though he was quiet Tuesday night with just his standard solid minutes. What I'm watching for is whether Coach Darko leans on him against Cleveland on Thursday. Beating a healthy Cavaliers team would be a huge statement for this Raptors squad, and I suspect they'll need timely, accurate three-point shooting and passable defense to pull it off. Battle brings both. The real question is, how long before the players ahead of him on the depth chart either step up significantly or watch Battle strong-arm his way through that door? What do you think? Should Battle be taking minutes from Dick, Walter, or Agbaji? Or do you want to see him play alongside Dick in bigger lineups? Let me know in the comments, and make sure you're subscribed because we'll be tracking this rotation battle all season long. Now let's talk about the guy who's actually solving problems instead of creating them, Emmanuel Quickley. Against Brooklyn, Quickley dropped a season-high 24 points to go with 8 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals. But here's what matters more. He scored 10 of those points in the fourth quarter when Toronto needed a steady hand to close out the game. This wasn't empty calorie scoring. This was winning basketball. Over his last 3 games, Quickley is averaging 21.3 points, 6.3 rebounds, and 5.7 assists, while shooting 45.8% from distance. That 3-point shooting is critical because it opens up everything else for Toronto's offense. When Quickley is hitting from deep, defenses have to respect him, which creates driving lanes and passing opportunities. Let's put this in context. The Raptors started this season 1-4, looking completely lost. Then Quickley heated up, and Toronto has won 5 of their last 6 games. Coincidence? Absolutely not. This team goes as Quickley goes right now, and that's not necessarily a bad thing when your point guard is playing at this level. The game itself was a perfect example of Quickley's value. Toronto started slow. Brooklyn jumped out 6-0, and the Nets were cooking in the paint early, with 16 of their 31st quarter points coming in the restricted area. Toronto trailed 30-28 after 1, but Quickley and the starters steadied the ship in the second quarter, and Toronto took a 60-52 lead into halftime. The third quarter got dicey. The Raptors got into foul trouble, and Brooklyn cut the lead to just 5 points late in the frame. But then Jamal Shead hit a floater at the buzzer to cap a 6-0 run, and Toronto led 89-81 heading into the fourth. That's when Quickley took over. Brooklyn opened the fourth with back-to-back threes from Jalen Wilson to make it close. Then Quickley answered with a long bomb, Toronto's first make in their last 14 three-point attempts, to calm everything down. A 9-2 run extended the lead back to 12, and even though Brooklyn kept draining outside shots to hang around, Quickley and the starters closed it out professionally. Here's what I love about Quickley's game right now. He's not just scoring. He's rebounding, facilitating, and making winning plays. 8 rebounds from your point guard is massive. 5 assists might not blow you away, but remember, this Raptors offense ranks 24th in assist rate out of drives. The creation opportunities just aren't there consistently, so Quickley is maximizing what's available. And let's give Jakob Poeltl some love here too. He returned from missing the previous game and posted 12 points and 10 rebounds. His presence stabilizes the defense and gives Toronto an actual rim protector. The pick and roll with Quickley and Jakob Poeltl is one of Toronto's most reliable actions, and having that safety blanket back makes a huge difference. Do you think Quickley can maintain this level of play all season? Is he a legitimate starting point guard on a playoff team, or is this just a hot streak? And more importantly, if Toronto makes the playoffs, can you see this team making noise with Quickley, Barnes, Ingram, Barrett, and Jakob Poeltl as the core 5? I'm genuinely curious what Raptors Nation thinks, because this team is way better than people expected. So let's bring it all together, Raptors Nation. Toronto beat Brooklyn 119-109 to improve to 6-5, winning 5 of their last 6 after that nightmare 1-4 start. On the surface, everything looks great, but dig deeper and you'll find some serious concerns that need addressing before this team can truly compete in the Eastern Conference. First, the driving crisis. Toronto can't consistently get to the rim in the half court, and that's going to be a problem against actual defenses. Scottie Barnes' drives are down significantly, and even Brandon Ingram, as good as he's been scoring, isn't creating enough advantages for teammates. The Raptors rank 24th in assist rate out of drives, which means they're not collapsing defenses or creating those easy kickout opportunities. Against Brooklyn's historically bad defense, Toronto got away with settling for threes. That won't work against Milwaukee, Boston, or Cleveland. Second, Jameson Battle is shooting over 70% from 3 and still can't crack 10 minutes per game consistently. At some point, the hot hand has to matter more than organizational politics. Battle deserves his opportunity, and I think we'll see his minutes increase if Dick, Walter, and Agbaji don't significantly improve their play. The Cleveland game on Thursday will be telling. Third, Emmanuel Quickley is carrying this team right now. He's averaging over 21 points per game in his last 3 outings, while shooting nearly 46% from deep. When Quickley plays at this level, Toronto is legitimately dangerous. The question is sustainability. Can he keep this up for 70-plus games? Looking ahead, the Raptors continue their 5-game road trip with Cleveland on Thursday. That's a massive test. The Cavaliers are one of the East's best teams, and if Toronto can steal that game, it would legitimately announce that they're not just a feel-good story, they're a playoff threat. Here's my question for you. What's the bigger concern right now? Toronto's inability to consistently attack the rim or the rotation decisions that are keeping Battle on the bench? And do you think Quickley is a legitimate starting point guard on a contender, or is this just a hot stretch? Drop your answers in the comments below. And if you're not subscribed to Quick Court yet, what are you waiting for? We're bringing you the real analysis of every Raptors game, not the surface level stuff you get everywhere else. Hit that subscribe button, smash the bell icon for notifications, and let's keep building the smartest basketball community on YouTube. This is Quick Court, bringing you the truth about your Toronto Raptors. Keep repping that red and black Raptors nation, because this team is just getting started. We the North